Okay, so one of the rules of Fight Club is that you're not supposed to talk about it.
Yes.
But, I mean, we kind of break that rule every time.
Yeah, we actually like get paid to talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, we should probably just do away with that rule. You know what? Go ahead and talk about Fight Club. I'll allow it.
In fact, tell everyone you know about it right now and tell them to tune in for the set between HyuN and Major.
Yeah, everyone you know.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Daybreak is going to be our map for Game 3. TSL.HyuN is not leading currently. He is tied 1-1 with Major. He was leading last game and might soon be again, but he's the red Zerg up in the top right of Daybreak. And down in the bottom left, we have Root, Major, Kitty, Princess, Brittany, Anna Prosser, etc., Forever, and so on.
That's those are all facts, actually.
Yeah.
Those are all names that he's had at some point. In fact, probably etc. and so on should be his next one.
Etc. and so on.
Root,
yeah,
etc. and so on.
Yeah. Root, you know who. I used to just call him Juan because it was just easier than trying to figure it out. But Juan is an interesting fella. I met him a couple of times at live events, and he's really good at StarCraft. Not much else. Not good at walking around. Not good at holding conversation.
He's he is dedicated to his craft.
But he loves StarCraft too, and I cannot fault him for that.
No, not at all.
But HyuN I have not met, but I would like to.
I like that HyuN was being very diligent with his scouting just then. He got out there with a very early drone just to make sure that Major wouldn't put anything weird around his base. He actually sent that drone out at a time that he knew even if an SCV was sent really, really early on, like at the very beginning of the game, he'd be able to catch it in transit to putting down some sort of a barracks or something along those lines. So certainly going to be prepared and, of course, making sure that everything is normal back at Major's base, and it is.
Yep, so not sure what to expect on Daybreak, really. HyuN has actually mixed up his builds slightly both times, so we went Muta Roach Drop and then Mutiling Baneling. Mutiling Baneling didn't quite work out because Major is really good at splitting his forces when they're Marines and not just tanks. It's hard to split siege tanks when Overlords fly over them, but...
yes, that's a fact.
Yeah, but he did fine against the 60 Banelings or whatever it was, so... Pretty good job there. Tied series now. I mean, each player still needs 4 wins, which seems like a lot when you say it out loud like that. But yeah, they've played many games together. I do want to point out Major did spend a lot of time in the TSL house. These guys are friends. That's what a lot of people are attributing Major's win in TSL 4 to. It's like it just so happens that you get that first pairing against someone that you've played every single day for months at a time.
Sure.
So, I mean, it really could have gone either way, and this still can go either way as it is tied up.
Yeah, that's certainly true. We'll see who decides, not decides to take the advantage. I mean,
who wants to take the
decision.
advantage? One of you?
I'll take it.
Either one of you.
Do you want to? I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't be indecisive about taking the advantage. The map is Daybreak, of course. I still think it's one of the more fun maps for TVZ. It tends to lend itself to a little bit longer games. You also tend to get a lot of like very dynamic attacking games. Zerg players, because of the way that these paths are relatively thin, I mean, meaning that they can be watched by siege tanks. They have to do a lot of split pushing and making their way down multiple attack paths, also usually with some air forces in tow as well. So I actually think it's probably the best TVZ map that's out there.
Yeah, it's not bad. Antigua Shipyard is... No, I'm just kidding. Antigua Shipyard has been long renowned as a Terran sort of safe bet. And Daybreak, not so much. Daybreak's a little bit more balanced. I think it's like 2 or 3% in one direction, but can't remember which. But really pretty balanced across things. Obviously, there's a lot of things to consider, like player skill and stuff like that. Is he going to get this Overlord? It looks like he probably will not get the Overlord. Why, Major? Why?
No, I feel so bad. But now HyuN survives with a fair number of Zerglings there and his Overlord. Major trying to back out of the way now with this SCV, but it looks like even that's going to get caught by HyuN Zerglings.
Oh man, there was actually a really narrow chance of escape if he just happened to dodge between those two and get to the left side, and maybe he could have got away, but nah. Not going to happen today. Lair coming up for HyuN, more gas. I think Mutas are probably, I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt Mutalisks at this point as he just keeps making them, and they keep being decently effective. Starport coming up for Major, so he's going to probably churn out a couple of Vikings, maybe get that Raven first, like we saw in the first game, well, not first, he got Banshees, but he got a Raven quickly so that he can start killing off Creep Tumors and stuff like that with his ground forces.
And this was kind of a weird, cool way to go about getting up to layer as well. We've been seeing more Mutas lately in CVZ, actually quite a bit more of them, as we do have Cloak being produced with Banshees now for Major. And the way that a lot of Zerg players have been doing it in CVZ is going up to a second gas, then layer, then add on 2 more gas, rather than that Leanox style you saw for so long, which was just your initial gas to get Zergling speed, then triple gas all at once, layer tech a little bit later on, usually save up to a little bit quicker, to a little higher Muta count, I guess is what I'm saying. But HyuN loving to play that heavy Baneling Ling style with just a smattering of Mutas kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I hate to bring up Vegemite again, but he's got a light spread of Mutalisks across his Ling Baneling forces.
Tasty Vegemite.
I only bring up Vegemite because shout out to James, one of our engineers here at IPL, a new guy on the team. He's from Australia, and I spent 6 months living in Australia, so we've been talking a lot about Australianisms and stuff like that. Vegemite is still just one of the weirdest things in Australia to me. it's
and tastiest.
It's just like starch. It's just like pure gross starch.
Pure gross. That's all it is. It is actually 100% conceived of gross. So, and oh, the Spire gets picked up. Of course, HyuN was hiding that there. Just had an Overlord pooping down some creep on top of it. This Banshee is going to get it into a little bit of damage, but seeing that Spire, he immediately canceled Cloak. So it looks like he's not too worried about anything else. In fact, was more worried about these Zerglings coming through the front. Just kind of gave up the Banshee.
Yeah, he just let that Banshee explode. I'm sure that pilot was very appreciative. I remember when you were once in a Banshee for a StarCraft. And you were killed in action. But,
I was fed backed. Yes.
Yeah, I think. So. Did you receive any kind of award for that, like a Purple Heart or like some memorandum? No.
Actually, they just punched my corpse enough times until it eventually came back to life and I could cast some more. So.
Well, I guess that's a good enough reward.
Yeah.
If you're going to get anything.
Life. Yeah.
Resurrection is okay.
That's true. Not bad. I'll take that over a medal. Hellions tried to get in there, but of course, very nice building positioning for HyuN. It's actually a solid wall up at the front. Zergling's going to swing on through, and there is a gap along the side. So once again, HyuN going to do some damage here, and that's pretty effective. And with 11 Mutas now on the way, what's the missile turret coverage look like? Well, it's not great.
He's putting up a couple. He at least is expecting it this time. A wave of 4 Overlords. We have to mass produce Overlords because we are supply blocked. But right now, how many Mutas is this? Wow, the 8 Mutas flying in, not getting any damage done. Might even lose that second one, just barely hangs on for a couple more to come in. Bunching them up, obviously, so the injured one doesn't just immediately die. But Major does have a couple of SCVs here to repair, and the Marines are not too far behind. Vikings have now joined the fight, and HyuN really still hasn't done much with these guys.
And if you've noticed from HyuN's production, you were mentioning that we're supply blocked. Let's make all the Overlords. HyuN obviously was a very strong Brood War player. Oh, God, that could be a lot of dead drones. But the one block up at the front, really well done, HyuN. HyuN is former top-level Brood War player, and we actually talked about this, Doe and I, when we first did a player spotlight on him when he was first kind of breaking onto the StarCraft 2 scene. And he had a very definite playstyle. That was basically, I make buildings, now I make drones, now I make attack units, and it's this heavy cycle. And we saw it just a second ago. After that round of four Overlords, he made 17 drones. Then he went right back into all attack units.
And now he's making 30 Lings, and last game he wasted all his Banelings and then made 7 drones or whatever it was. So I totally believe you. He's kind of got that disorder where you can only eat one thing on your plate at a time before moving on to the next one. That's how I picture it.
Yeah.
So when he's eating bibimbap or whatever, he has to separate everything out and eat it.
I just realized I'm a horrible person though, because I did you ever like share food when you were a kid? You're like, your family would order things and you try a bite off of someone's plate and just see what they were having or something like that. We used to call that playing Helen Keller, by like grabbing random food across the table. I have no idea why that memory came to mind, but I just realized that my family is full of horrible people, and I apologize on behalf of the Naki family.
That's really weird to me that that's a phrase at all.
That's a thing.
But it's just yeah, I mean, usually it would be if 2 of you wanted to order the same thing, but you both you thought it would be a waste if you both got the same meal at a restaurant or something, so you'd just trade bites. But
exactly,
never heard it called that.
Nope. Well, now you have.
Nope.
Well, there's another 38 Zerglings coming up now. It's going to be a total of 100 when they're all done, of course. And there's the wave of banelings that we were all hoping and praying for.
Are these baneling eggs or cocoons? I've had this discussion with Doa so many times.
Baneling cocoons.
There are no eggs in StarCraft 2.
I think you're right. Yeah.
There's just not any. Except infested Terran eggs.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is weird that they wouldn't be cocoons. They're the only eggs in the Zerg army.
Oh my god, that's a lot of Zerglings coming through. The Mutas took a lot of damage here without doing a whole lot in return. And we'll see how much HyuN can do now. The Banelings rolling in from behind. There's not any tanks here or anything like that to buffer any of the damage.
Wow.
The Banelings just aren't really powering their way through quite yet, but there's a lot of dead Marines.
That was not a great split, Major. I was complimenting you earlier, and I just saw a lack of splittage there, notably from your Marines.
Yes.
The ones that were killed recently by Banelings.
That's right.
I feel like could have done a slightly better job. I like the bunching at the minerals. Oh, those 2 Banelings got splattered by the tank, but I was anxiously awaiting some nice SCV explosions. But the Lynx could actually have gone up in there. I don't think he's going to manage to save any of them, but that's all right. Pathogen Gland's on the way. He did get a lot of damage done. Hive is on the way as well, so I like that setup for the next sort of Tier 3 attack that I'm sure he's going to be gearing up for now. And
he does have that 4th base up now, so he did damage behind all of that, and he killed 23 workers, which is a respectable amount. So he's up by 37 workers. He's actually way down in terms of overall army. I'm making sure that Major's not dropping anywhere, but I don't see anything at the moment. So this is an interesting position for Major. He's certainly got to do some economic damage pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he's only churning out Tank Marine, which actually is the counter to Mutiling Baneling. I mean, Tank Marine and turrets along the way. You just set up camp, move across a little bit, set up camp, move across a little until you eventually get in siege range of a hatchery somewhere. But I like the Viking doing some spotting now. He's obviously missing this large ground force here, but he is going to be able to pick off a couple of Overlords scattered around the map. HyuN actually has really good Overlord coverage, and HyuN is taking HyuN has good Overlord coverage, and Major is taking advantage of that by killing them off with his Vikings. So there is a Spore Crawler right there, so if he's not paying attention, Major could lose this Viking. There's a drop coming in right on that Spire. I thought that was an iffy placement when he first put it down, and man, that Queen just took out that Viking no problem. Infestors are on the field now. Pathogen Glands were researched, so they are ready to start fungling like crazy. I bet Major wishes he had some fungals right now for all those Lings and Banelings.
Yes.
Because that's going to be really, really hard to deal with if his Marines are pinned in place.
And HyuN is on top of these drops. He knows exactly where Major's going to be. Doesn't look like Major's been able to put up a 4th command center. Just checking around to make sure, but yeah, I don't see anything at the moment. So he's pinned down on 3 bases, and HyuN's basically taking the map, even though his Overlords were killed there for a while. Nice job catching that medevac there.
Select an egg.
Oh, where is it? Oh.
Wait for another one, and we'll verify.
I will. They are eggs, so you are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, another drop attempt, but again, Overlord spread, too good from HyuN. I'm sure there are going to be some Lings there. Spore Crawler's already in place. The Up Queen is going to go ahead and respond to this, be the first responder to the scene of the crime, and I don't think Major's going to be able to kill anything. Maybe the Queen. Probably not any tech. I think HyuN is going to be able to respond. Yeah, tons and tons of speed links coming in here. But that is nice for Major to actually kill the Queen because the medevac almost died.
Yeah.
And now he can actually get out of there. I don't see any mutas or anything on the way or out. So Ultralisk Cavern and Greater Spire both being created right now. HyuN is riding a small advantage from earlier. I mean, he did force Major to rebuild a lot of units that maybe he didn't necessarily want to do, but they were cheap and fast. But he has a ton of Marines. I can't believe he still invested so much into those Marines. I guess it must just be the barracks infrastructure that he'd been going with early game.
Couple key fungal growths, and this could be a big problem. And HyuN manages to pick off the tank there, loses a lot of Zerglings, but that is a pretty big threat out of that army. I mean, without that there to splash damage out the Banelings, it's actually going to be a pretty big problem. Oh, Major, very nice job reacting there and stimming away.
Man, I wonder if those Banelings were just a hair closer to the smoke, all those Marines would have gone down. But here we go. We got infested swarm eggs. Yay! Yes. So it's the only egg in StarCraft 2. All the Banelings, Major has plenty of room here to split, but like I was about to say before it happened, the fungals catch everything. That makes it really hard to split because you can't move.
Yeah.
And all these tanks are going to go down as well. HyuN is going to ride this momentum. Oh, that contingent of Marines that split off to the bottom is now being split up as effectively as they can to avoid those fungals and any Banelings that are left over. But Major realizes Or at least thinks that he doesn't have a chance and GG's out.
No kidding. So, well, I mean, let's be honest. He was down. He was on 3 bases with 1 mostly mined out, 2 mostly mined out. So, I certainly think he could have stuck around a little while, but he didn't really have a lot of ways to put on pressure onto his opponent, I guess. And there he goes. GG.